Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 104 based on novel. So let's start. Looking down at the beauty in her arms who was unconscious again, Xiao Yang's old face suddenly turned red. Especially when the attractive carcass of the girl came into Xiao Yang's eyes, Xiao Yang's heart accelerated at the moment. But Xiao Yang is also a person who has come over. He has his own resistance to this kind of thing. Just for a moment, the restless mood just rising from the bottom of Xiao Yang's heart was quickly pressed down by Xiao Yang. Then, with a fierce wave of Xiao Yang's big sleeve, he turned into a black robe on Murong Qianqian's delicate body and wrapped the girl's exposed snow-white body. Then, Xiao Yang gently put it on the ground. Then, the next moment, while Xiao Yang got up and turned around, the strong man who had just been blown away by Xiao Yang climbed out of the huge pit. At the moment when the strong man looked up, Xiao Yang also happened to raise his eyes. Then, the two figures looked at each other at a distance of 100 feet apart. Their bodies seemed to freeze in an instant. For the strong man in front of him, Xiao Yang's face was not moved at all, but in the pair of dark eyes, the soft color originally contained in the previous moment had disappeared. At the moment, it was replaced by a cold, indifferent look from the bottom of his heart. As for the strong man, his heart is also full of anger for the hairy boy who has ruined his good deeds, and he even wants to pull it out of his bones. But at the same time, when the strong man saw Xiao Yang, he found that his strength had reached the level of 5-star and half emperor. Compared with him, he was only 1 star away. Therefore, when the strong man looked at Xiao Yang, he also dared not be careless. Boy, I can't imagine that you are young and can refine imperial elixir. I have to say, you are really a rare genius. While saying this, the strong man slowly fell behind him with one hand, his heart moved, his fighting spirit surged in his body, and quickly condensed in the palm of his hand. You want to rob me of my refined pill? Xiao naturally noticed a move of the strong man in front of him, but he didn't bother to pay attention to it. As soon as he opened his mouth, his words went straight to the theme. Hey, you pill is a ownerless thing. It's just the so-called predestined person who gets it. I'd better not bury it for your men, but how can you say that? The strong man smiled, and the look on his smiling face gradually became vicious. I refined the pill myself. Why do you say that there is no owner, unless… Ha, you guessed right. As long as you die, this pill will just become an ownerless thing. So, boy, go to death. If you want to blame yourself for being too stupid. You don't even have any defense against the king. Ha. Xiao Yang's voice didn't fall, but the strong man suddenly laughed and shouted. Under the order of shouting, the strong man had appeared in front of Xiao Yang. With a big hand, his 5 fingers clenched into a fist, and the power of terror in his palm, he hit Xiao Yang's head hard. If this fist really hit, even with Xiao Yang's strength, there must be only a dead end. Oh. However, even at this time, Xiao Yang still gave a slight smile, raised his eyes slowly, stared at the strong man in front of him with indifferent eyes, and said slowly, "It's not that I'm not prepared for you, but in the face of your role, it's superfluous to be prepared. Die." Hearing that Xiao Yang dared to be so arrogant before he died, the strong man suddenly became angry and drank fiercely. The fighting spirit in his body surged rapidly. The power contained in the giant fist was even more terrible. In the next moment, the strong man's giant fist, wrapped in fighting spirit and 1 circle larger than Xiao Yang's head, is less than an inch long from Xiao Yang's face. Just wait for the next moment, Xiao Yang will become one of the strong man's dead souls. Hiss. However, in the twinkling of an eye, when the strong man blew out his fist and fell on Xiao Yang's face, his face changed suddenly, because with his fist falling, Xiao Yang, who was hit by his own huge fist, was lost in time, and there was nothing left under the boxing style. Residual shadow. Seeing this scene, the look on the strong man's face became more frightened and unimaginable. At such a close distance just now, the young man in black still perfectly avoided his blow. How possible? In addition to being shocked, the strong man still couldn't believe it. He never thought that a 5-star and a half emperor could perfectly avoid the attack of his 6-star and a half emperor, and in the most dangerous way. As just now, Xiao Yang seemed to do it on purpose, which just shows that Xiao Yang has a terrible speed that can easily escape all his attack. Thinking of this, the strong man was suddenly surprised. He couldn't help doubting the real strength of the black-robed youth. After all, if he could easily escape the blow of his 6-star and half emperor, ordinary body fighting skills could not be done, unless the strength of the other party was much better than his. If that's true, then today, He's afraid he's kicked the iron plate. Now that you've moved, it's my turn. Just when the strong man was frightened, a cold and indifferent word came to his ear. Hearing the words, the look on the strong man's face could not help but change slightly. As soon as his body shook, he wanted to flash back. However, at this time, Xiao Yan's figure suddenly appeared in front of the strong man. With a cold and piercing smile on his pale face, he looked at the strong man face to face. Ah! Such an abrupt moment also made the strong man's heart suddenly coagulate, and a pair of animal red eyes suddenly contracted. Just when the strong man returned to his mind, Xiao Yang smiled coldly, and then his palm turned over and hit the strong man's chest with a fierce palm. Zhen Hunian. Bang! With a dull bang, the strong man's body flew out uncontrollably. After several flips in the air, he fell to the ground, rubbed the ground and slid out of the distance of nearly 100 feet. Just then he collapsed like a pool of mud. His breath has completely dissipated and seems to be a dead man. One palm, kill a 6-star and a half emperor. At this moment, between heaven and earth, many warcraft attracted by the Imperial Pill were completely silent at this moment. The scene in front of us was really too shocking and unimaginable. A 6-star and a half emperor, who had the strongest cultivation in this field, was killed by a 5-star and a half emperor. This kind of thing is incredible. Of course, in the hearts of these guys at the moment, Xiao Yang's palm brought them more, but it was still fear. After all, even the 6-star and half emperor died in Xiao Yang's hands. How could they be the opponents of the black-robed youth in front of them? Immediately, many of the warcraft who turned into human beings had already backed out. Standing in the void, Xiao Yang looked indifferently at these guys who still showed greedy eyes. He couldn't help but show some surprise. These guys really licked blood on the edge of the knife. Even at this moment, they were still unwilling to give up competing with themselves for the Imperial Pill. He breathed out a deep breath with a little effort. First he refined the pill, and just now he applied the soul seal. At the moment, Xiao Yang, the remaining soul power of the soul bead in his mind is not much, and Xiao Yang can no longer forcibly suppress the weak feeling in his body. If he wants to recover as soon as possible, he must send the guys in front of him away. A cold hum came out. All the people present were silent. They had seen Xiao Yang's previous terrible momentum, but no one dared to treat the black-robed youth in front of them as an ordinary 5-star and half emperor. At the same time when the cold hum came out of Xiao Yang's mouth, everyone's eyes fell on Xiao Yang. Everyone's nerves were suddenly tense at the moment. A cold sweat had already wet everyone's back. Although they were half emperors, they could not lift the momentum of the strong ones in front of the black-robed youth. Get out of here within 10 breaths, or you'll die. Xiao Yang's tone was tough. As the cold voice came out, a terrible fighting energy swept out of Xiao Yang's body at this moment. The powerful pressure made all the people present dignified. Even those strong people who are the same 5-star and half emperor as Xiao Yang were full of horror and shock in their hearts. It is beyond words. Look at this. The black-robed man looks like a 5-star and a half emperor. Judging from this pressure, I'm afraid his real strength is at least at the level of 8-star and a half emperor. When the threat came out, the remaining 5-star and half emperors also looked at each other in the dark and looked at Xiao Yang more. Several of them seemed to be confirming something. Then the next moment, they suddenly turned around and shot away in the direction of coming at their fastest speed without looking back. Seeing that Xiao Yang really didn't do it again, the remaining people in the field also turned around one after another, quickly mentioned the fighting spirit in their body, set off one after another, and ran away quickly in the direction of their arrival. They wanted to stay away from Xiao Yang's sight in a moment. When all the people present left, Xiao Yang almost fell from the void. Then he staggered down and came to Murong Qianqian. Looking at the pretty girl who has been unconscious in front of her, because the girl used the secret method before, her hard cultivation in the past month has turned into nothingness. At this moment, Murong Qianqian's injury is more serious than a month ago. If she can't heal her injury quickly, Murong Qianqian should really worry about her life this time. Damn, this is really a stupid girl. Do you really want to die? Xiao Yang frowned and scolded in his mouth. He thought for a moment, but finally he shook his head reluctantly, forcing himself to cheer up and drag his tired body to the medicine tripod. Looking at the thunder cloud that was about to disperse in the sky, Xiao Yang couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and took back his eyes. Xiao Yang looked at the medicine tripod in front of him. Looking through the medicine tripod, Xiao Yang saw the glazed pill in the medicine tripod, which was emitting dazzling golden light. Xiao Yang quickly raised his hands, moved his mind, and the fighting spirit in his body poured out quickly. With Xiao Yang's fingers pinching, Mysterious knots were quickly played out, which is the magic formula of Huadan. This time, facing the pill in the medicine tripod, Xiao Yang didn't procrastinate. He endured a weak feeling from his body. Xiao Yang's teeth fiercely bit on the tip of his tongue, and his blood spattered. At the same time, Xiao Yang shook violently, and the world in front of him became much more stable. At the same time, between Xiao Yang's hands, the gorgeous different fire condensed into a palm-sized fire ring. With Xiao Yang's heart moving, it turned into a streamer and flashed into the medicine tripod in front of him. Buzzing, buzzing. Feel the approaching of the ring of fire. At the critical moment, the pill suddenly trembled violently. Then, a golden streamer poured out of the pill, condensing a golden energy shield around the pill. Hiss. With the protection of the shield, Xiao Yang's pill ring couldn't break through the pill for a moment, and Xiao Yang's face became more and more pale in this short moment. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the pill is still unwilling to live in peace. If Xiao Yang's soul strength was too weak at the moment, this thing would never last so long. Damn it. At the thought that Murong Qianqian was seriously injured at the moment, but now this kind of thing happened. Xiao Yang was in a hurry. If anything else, it would be okay. But the girl was injured because she delayed time for Xiao Yang. Although that time doesn't matter, after all, the girl still took action. She is in love and reason. Xiao Yang can't ignore it. Alas. Xiao Yang sighed helplessly in his heart. Xiao Yang thought a little. In the center of his eyebrows, the dazzling golden light suddenly burst out. A mysterious rune appeared in the center of Xiao Yang's eyebrows. It was the Xiao family pattern. With the appearance of the family pattern, Xiao Yang's breath is also rapidly elevated, and his state is temporarily restored. Drink. Taking advantage of this short moment, Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly became gloomy, and he whispered in his heart. Xiao Yang's hands quickly lifted up, and the printing formula between his hands quickly played out. At the same time, the breath on the Huadan ring also increased rapidly. Suddenly, Xiao Yang waved his hands with a sudden force. Under Xiao Yang's wave, the chemical pill ring the size of his palm became more than 10 times larger. With Xiao Yang's heart moving, the energy shield on the pill was forced to break open like a packed balloon. Huadan ring, take it for me. In the twinkling of an eye, the night came again. In a dark mountain forest, in an open space somewhere, a young man in black robes was sitting on the ground with his face slightly white and his eyes closed. In front of the man, there was also a delicate woman who was also covered in a black robe and had no blood on her pretty face. From the latter's face at the moment, it seemed that she had been seriously injured. These two people are Xiao Yang and Murong Qianqian. At the moment, Xiao Yang's eyes are closed and his breath is restrained. With his breath, the mottled energy of heaven and earth in the surrounding space also converges rapidly. It enters Xiao Yang's body along the pores of Xiao Yang's whole body, and then finally converges into the cyclone in Xiao Yang's body after refining the burning formula skill. As for Murong Qianqian at the moment, after Xiao Yang fed the imperial pill into her mouth, although she could clearly feel that there was an extremely strong drug power in her body, because Murong Qianqian was injured so badly that the drug power could not be fully integrated into her body, so even at the moment, the power of the pill could only linger in her body, but she could not recover from her injury. A moment later, when Xiao Yang slowly opened his eyes, he saw Murong Qianqian still pale in front of him. Immediately, Xiao Yang couldn't help frowning. If the power of the pill cannot be fully integrated into Murong's body, even if she swallowed the pill, it will be useless in the end. At present, if she wants to integrate these powers into her body in the most gentle way, she can only rely on fighting spirit to urge her. At the moment, Murong Qianqian's state seems impossible. Therefore, this burden can only be pressed on Xiao Yang. With this in mind, the muscles in the corners of Xiao Yang's eyes can't help twitching. At the moment, even he is in a weak state. At present, he even wants to help the girl to stimulate the medicine in his body, which is undoubtedly another big trouble for Xiao Yang at this time. Bang! With a light spit in his mouth, Xiao Yang reluctantly glanced away. He has more or less his share in the serious injury of his aunt. At present, in order to avoid guilt in his heart, he can only save the annoying guy in front of him first. I have to say, if you can, Xiao Yang really doesn't want to have any relationship with this Murong Qianqian, but what can be done to get people? I'm afraid he will bring this trouble around in the future. With this in mind, Xiao Yang couldn't help but sigh bitterly. Then he gently lifted up the weak and boneless body in front of him. As soon as his palm turned over, he wanted to inject the fighting qi into the girl in front of him, so as to urge the non-diffusible medicine in his body. However, at this time, the voice of Ji Yu was very abrupt from the bottom of Xiao Yang's heart. Boy, Are you sure you're saving people, not killing people? Huh. Xiao Yan couldn't help but be a little surprised at the sudden voice. Then he quickly reacted and breathed a sigh of relief. Then he spoke suspiciously to the bone in his body. Who? What's the matter? I'm just saving her. If I don't do it, I'm afraid the girl can't survive today. Judging from the girl's injury in front of her, if she can't recover her injury in one day, I'm afraid she will really worry about her life. At that time, Xiao Yang is afraid to bear a sense of guilt all her life. You're right, but if you do it like this, the girl won't live a day. Ah! The voice in Guyo's mouth fell, and Xiao Yang's pale face changed suddenly. Some people in his heart didn't understand the meaning of Guyo's words, but Xiao Yang always trusted the former, and naturally wouldn't doubt his words. Therefore, while Guyo's words fell, Xiao Yang quickly took back the palm he had stretched out. After these twists and turns, the injury in the little girl's body has been too serious to be serious. Now both her organs and meridians are extremely fragile. Once you enter from the outside, in the process, it will be enough to aggravate her injury again. At that time, even if the gods come, they can't save her. Hearing Jiuyu's words, Xiao Yang's pale face suddenly showed a trace of cold sweat. He couldn't help feeling lucky. It's also lucky that there are old antiques like Jiuyu around him. Otherwise, Murong Chanshan couldn't say that he would really die in his hands. Who? He breathed a sigh of relief. Then, Xiao Yang quickly opened his mouth and asked Jiuyu. Jiu Lao, in that case, is there any other way to help the girl spread the pill power in his body? Hearing the speech, Jiuyu could not help but curl her mouth and said, I said you are also a second-class herbalist. How can you face this situation like a beginner? Cough. Xiao Yang coughed awkwardly for Guyo's words, then frowned slightly and said suspiciously to Guyo at the bottom of his heart. You mean, with different fire? For Xiao Yang's words, Guyo was speechless for a time. Only after the good film was carved, did she turn her mouth and say, Fool, don't you use fighting spirit to urge the strange fire? I'm talking about acupoints. Massage several acupoints on the girl's body to urge the fighting spirit in the girl from outside to inside. As long as the fighting spirit in her body moves, the elixir that doesn't melt will naturally disperse, and the injury in the girl's body will be recovered. Smell speech, the look on Xiao Yang's face is but can't help but be a little stunned. Massage acupoints. How can he feel déjà vu when he hears this sentence? At this moment, Xiao Yang raised his eyes and looked up at the sky. In his mind, he couldn't help but imagine the scene in the Warcraft Mountain. Hey, boy, this is a good job. Hey, hey, hey. At this time, Guyo's joking laughter came from the bottom of Xiao Yang's heart. Just listening to the joking laughter, you can already detect the meaning of bad intentions. With his eyes tilted, Xiao Yang couldn't help but feel weak in his heart. After a long time, he asked in a low voice in his heart. Jiu Lao, according to you, the acupuncture points I want to massage her are. Hey, don't say you don't know. It's the necessary meridians of the skill and the meridians connecting the internal organs. The little girl's injury is not shallow. Remember, every internal meridians must be massaged carefully. Hey. With the banter of Guyo, Xiao Yang's pale face suddenly burst into a red look. The next day, the sun is burning in the sky. After a night's recovery, Murong Chanshan has recovered a lot. The magic of Imperial Pill is unparalleled. At the moment, with the help of the recovery of Imperial Pill in one night, the recovery degree of Murong Chanshan's injury is much faster than that month's self-recovery in the hot spring. At the moment, Murong Chanshan's overall strength has recovered at least 30%. Therefore, the horror of the energy of Imperial Pill is also obvious. Of course, although the Imperial Pill has been fully integrated into Murong Chanshan's body, the medicine contained in the pill has not been fully absorbed by Murong Chanshan. Therefore, in the next few days, as long as Murong Chanshan makes a little effort to fully stimulate the medicine in his body, I believe that the injury in Murong Chanshan's body can recover to its peak again in less than a week. At that time, Xiao Yang will be able to leave this annoying girl. The injury in his body recovered, but Murong Chanshan never ignored this opportunity. Taking advantage of his good state at the moment, he quickly sat up and made a cultivation knot with his slender jade hand. With the operation of internal skills, between heaven and earth, a stream of heaven and earth energy immediately gathered at the girl. On the other side, Xiao Yang is still asleep. Although it is nearly noon, I'm afraid he can't wake up in a short time. Helpless, he repeatedly consumed a lot of soul power. Even Xiao Yang could not bear it. Only in this state at the moment could he recover Xiao Yang's consumed soul power as quickly as possible. At the same time, near the depths of the Shaolin Mountains, at the moment, the three figures are stepping on the void and flying. The direction is where Xiao Yang is at the moment. In the twinkling of an eye, a new day is coming. The eyelids trembled slightly, the eyebrows frowned slightly, and the sleeping Xiao Yang finally woke up slowly. At the moment of opening his eyes, Xiao Yang saw the beautiful girl who had changed into a long skirt again. Sitting on a blue stone in the sun's bath, the white jade hand made a practice knot. At the moment, a ruddy and weak breath surged up again, which also became calm. Slightly confused, Xiao Yang shook his head. Then he stood up from the ground. The breeze blew. Xiao Yang immediately felt a shock all over his body, and his sleepiness was wiped clean in this moment. Slightly raised his head, Xiao Yang closed his eyes, took a deep breath of the fresh air between heaven and earth, slowly stretched out his hands under his sleeve robe, and then suddenly grasped them. "Drink," he whispered in his heart, and then followed by a sudden shock all over Xiao Yang. Suddenly, a crackling sound of bone collision came from all over Xiao Yang. Feeling the fighting spirit in his body, Xiao Yang couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. His eyes turned and fell on Murong Qianqian again. Although the girl has entered the cultivation state at the moment, with the recovery of the injury in her body, she has clearly noticed the eyes of Xiao Yang. The long and narrow beautiful eyes trembled slightly, and then a pair of smart eyes looked at Xiao Yang yaro like stars in the sky. The two eyes met each other, but Xiao Yang somehow seemed to think of something. Their eyes just touched for a moment, and Xiao Yang dodged away first. The latter, with a complex color on his white pretty face, turned his eyes and looked away. Hey, little guy, what are you hiding from? When you were unconscious, you directly fell on others. You didn't hide at that time. Now, there's nothing to hide. Just face it directly. Anyway, there are only you two here, and no one will disturb. Just after Xiao Yang turned his eyes away, Jiuyu's joking voice suddenly came from the bottom of Xiao Yang's heart. Listening to his words, Xiao Yang's face quickly turned red. Cough. He coughed awkwardly in his heart. Xiao Yang said to Guyo angrily, "At that time, my consciousness was blurred. How can I compare with now? She clearly woke up before me. If I was still lying on her at that time, wouldn't it? Hey, don't worry. If she really wanted to kill you because you touched her body, she should have done it long ago. Didn't you find that the little girl woke up in the process of massaging her?" Well. Hearing Jiuyu's words, Xiao Yang's face suddenly coagulated. At that time, he was concentrating on dissolving the pill for Murong Qianqian. How could he care whether she was awake or not? But if it was really as Jiuyu said, didn't all the things she massaged Murong Qianqian fall into her eyes? At the thought of this, Xiao Yang's face instantly turned red. When he raised his eyes and looked at Murong Qianqian, he found that the latter was also looking at him. Immediately, Xiao Yang couldn't help but be a little stunned. Then he hurried to say, That thing. You don't have to say much. It's just a dream. Nothing has happened." However, before Xiao Yang could spit out his words, Murong Qianqian turned his eyes slightly red and said plainly. As the girl's voice fell, the atmosphere in the scene suddenly became a little dull. Both of them looked around and their lips moved, but they didn't know what else to say to alleviate the depressed atmosphere. However, just a short moment later, Xiao Yang, who had no choice but to frown, suddenly changed his face. His body standing on the ground suddenly turned around, raised his head and looked at the western sky behind him. Xiao Yang can clearly perceive that at this moment, there are three extremely powerful smells flying towards them at a very fast speed. For the owner of the three smells, Xiao Yang also recognized them in an instant. These three people are the three kings in the depths of Shaolin Mountain Range: Eagle, Lion and Xionggang. Xiao Yang never expected that these three guys would come here, but fortunately, now Xiao Yang Tianjubao has entered the wind and become a great success. Facing these three people, he naturally has more confidence. But on second thought, Xiao Yang could not help but frown slightly. He was really not afraid of the three people, but the key was that there was a Murong Qianqian around Xiao Yang, which was really a trouble. Boy, you really surprised us. I thought you had fallen into the deep stream that day, but I didn't think you were still alive. Before people arrived, the mighty voice of words came like the thunder in the night sky. Xiao Yanji only felt that the whole world was trembling slightly at the moment. The speaker was the most fiery lion among the three. For the last war, Yangsha was puzzled in every way. At that time, Xiao Yang was clearly seriously injured, but why did they receive the news that Xiao Yang was still alive yesterday? Especially when these three people really felt Xiao Yang's breath at this time, they were even more surprised. Yang Lion's words also told the doubts in the hearts of the other two people. Ha ha. Hearing this, Xiao Yang smiled non-committally and didn't give a definite answer. At the moment when the laughter fell in Xiao Yang's mouth, Xiao Yang suddenly stepped on the ground, and the earth under his feet was suddenly stepped out of a pit, while Xiao Yang's body swept into the void. At the same time, a voice containing some solemn meaning was also introduced into Murong Qianqian's ears. If you don't want anything, get out of here. As the voice fell, Xiao Yang's figure had appeared in the sky, and on the void hundreds of feet away from it, the three figures also looked at Xiao Yang in the distance, looking cold and solemn. After hearing Xiao Yang's words, Murong Qianqian not only didn't leave, but had a joking smile on his pretty face. Looking at Xiao Yang above the sky, a pair of water-lingling eyes showed a little color of playfulness. Let you take advantage of Miss Ben. This is your little compensation for Miss Ben. The girl smiled playfully, then went to a huge bluestone, sat down with her back against the boulder, and looked at Xiao Yang and the eagle in the sky. Oh, but did the three of them come together? I really can't imagine what you did to them. You can make them come to the door together. Moreover, looking at their murderous appearance, I can't help but wonder. Xiao Yang, where on earth do you come from? You dare to meet the three of them face to face. Murong Qianqian looked at the four people in the sky. He couldn't help feeling curious about Xiao Yang. His small mouth tooted slightly and frowned at Xiao Yang in the sky. At the same time, Xiao Yang and Tianying are looking at each other in the sky. The three men looked at Xiao Yang in front of them, and there was a sense of obliteration in their eyes. The trouble Xiao Yang caused them that day, but the three of them have not fully recovered. Now, seeing Xiao Yang again, they will inevitably have a sense of obliteration towards him. Boy, I don't care how you escaped that day, but since you meet the three of us today, this time, you will never have another chance to escape. Among the three people, Tianying is the leader. At the moment, he is staring at Xiao Yang with his eyes. The killing intention in his words is not disguised at all. The voice fell, and the other two people beside them also took half a step forward. Suddenly, a terrible pressure swept out of the two people and oppressed Xiao Yang. In the face of this pressure, Xiao Yang's face looked the same. His steps were also half a step. His heart moved. The blood of the dragon phoenix in his body was immediately stimulated. As soon as Xiao Yang's body shook, an invisible pressure quickly spread from him, resisting all the momentum and pressure of the two people. This is. Feeling the breath in Xiao Yang's body, Murong Qianqian's pretty face at the bottom suddenly couldn't help but change slightly. Others may not recognize the breath in Xiao Yang's body at the moment, but she is very clear. That kind of breath comes from an extremely ancient terrorist force, which makes the girl wonder why the blood power of that force would appear in a human body. However, compared with Murong Qianqian at this time, at the moment when the blood pressure in Xiao Yang's body came out, the whole body felt an irresistible pressure falling on their shoulders, and the momentum and pressure of Yang Lion and Xiong Gang had been resisted. Damn! I haven't seen you for a few months. Why has this boy's strength increased so much? Feel the power that erupted from Xiao Yang's body. At this moment, Tianying's three hearts can't help feeling shocked. You know, a few months ago, Xiao Yang did his best and was definitely not their opponent. But now, it's only a few months in the past, but the latter has made them feel pressure with momentum. It's hard not to think too much. Make a fool of yourself. It's just a threat. If you do it, I won't believe it. Where can you grow in 3 months? Feeling the pressure in Xiao Yang's body, the look on Tianying's face could not help but change slightly. Then, Tianying snorted coldly, shook his body, and there was a hurricane around him. In the twinkling of an eye, Tianying's body had appeared in front of Xiao Yang, and his right leg was raised. In a violent breaking wind, Tianying recorded a heavy whip leg. It has come to Xiao Yang. Facing the whip leg of Tianying, Xiao Yang is no longer as serious as he was a few months ago, but just a faint smile. At the same time, his thin body seems to be swaying and tilting slightly to the right rear in the hurricane. At the next moment, the eagle's blow fell down from the void in front of Xiao Yang with a hiss, while Xiao Yang stood on the void 1 meter away, and a faint smile was always caught at the corners of his mouth. Seeing this scene, not only Yang Lion and Xiong Gang, but also Tianying himself couldn't help taking a breath. He was also very shocked. Unexpectedly, Xiao Yang escaped his blow so easily. You know, a few months ago, although Xiao Yang was able to deal with Tianying for a moment due to his own speed, he had never been so relaxed as he looked at the moment. At this moment, even Tianying himself had to be shocked by Xiao Yang's terrible cultivation speed. It's hard to imagine how the young man in black can cultivate at such a fast speed. If he really practices at this speed, no one in the whole continent can match him. At this moment, even Murong Qianxian below couldn't help opening his mouth at the moment. In looking at Xiao Yang, he couldn't help but surge into an unbelievable look. She had no doubt about the attack of Tianying just now. Even if it was not full strength, it was definitely not that a 5-star and a half emperor could escape. What surprised her was that Xiao Yang looked so easy to avoid it. Seeing this scene, Murong Qianxian couldn't help recalling that when she woke up for the first time after her serious injury, Xiao Yang told her that the people who chased her were killed by Xiao Yang. At that time, Murong Qianxian naturally had countless unbelievers in his heart. After all, Xiao Yang was only a 5-star and half emperor. How could he kill a team with 9-star and half emperors? But at the moment, Xiao Yang's words that day were not aimless. This video will end here.